So to get started, I'm going to introduce Ren Brumfield, and he's going to give a few updates on the recycling program. I will note as well that he won't be taking questions. However, if you do have any questions, we ask that you please put them in the chat box and also email him directly, and he will reach out to you as well. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is how recycling connects with circularity. And I'll be working closely with Kathy and Divya and Britt as our programs move forward. Now, there are some things that are not designed to be reused or recycled, and that's when we talk about that linear economy that I'm sure you guys all know all about. Some vendors are not equipped to process all things that could possibly be recycled, and some things that you've always thought should be recycled don't go into that recycling cart. So with the new program at its base, it's much like the old one. We recycle cans, bottles, paper, and cardboard. And there's some subtleties to that, but really that's the basics. And a big part of my job, what I was hired for, is to help the residents of Cleveland to understand what that all means. When I talk about those things that are recyclable, because recycling really can be simple if we let it. I'll also be working with the different city divisions and with our vendors to ensure that all the back of the house processes run smoothly. And right now there are 27,000 people signed up through the opt-in process that we set up a while back, and it's actually it looks good. It's more than what I thought it would be, and everybody wants to know when the program's going to start. That's a big question. So what I can tell you about that right now is that we have selected a vendor, but there are some points of disagreement that are preventing us from finalizing the contract. So there's still some work going on in the background. So I can't really give you the details of all of that because it's ongoing. And having this opt-in model in place should ensure that we have a low contamination. And I'm excited about all the possibilities of what we can do, especially with the fact that, this, as the new guy here, I'm at a place where I can really help to communicate with everyone and help you guys know what's going on. We'll have some regular emails, some regular posts going on very, very soon. I expect to have something out this week to let you guys know more about the status, because we'll know more. And then we'll establish a regular cadence on that in the coming weeks. So let's see. Britt, I think that's really all I have to open up with, because I don't have a whole lot of, I know it's early on.
Okay, thanks, Ren. Okay, if you have any questions, we're going to drop his email where you can contact him in the chat box. Also, next up, we have Kathy Lynch, and she's going to jump right into her presentation on repair, fix, and mend. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany, and thanks, Ren, for the update. And thank you to all of you for attending tonight. So repair is part of a circular economy. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of repair, fix, and mend, and how that relates to the circular economy. And one of the things that I'm going to do as we go through the presentation is I have several questions to ask all of you. And I want you to just think and consider your answers. If you want to share your answers to these questions, definitely put those into the chat box. This evening, Patty Donlin will be helping to monitor the chat box for all of us. So my first question is, what was the last thing you repaired yourself or that you would like to have repaired? And one of the reasons I chose a toaster here is because that's one of the things at home that I am going to have repaired. My toaster's 25 years old and it's starting to act up. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to give a brief overview this evening about repair. And like so many of these topics, I'm tonight just going to scratch the surface. There is so much more information out there. And so as Brittany mentioned, we will be recording this presentation, and then next week we'll post on our blog the recording and contact information, and also links that will refer back to the presentation. And as I'm going through the PowerPoint, Patty will be putting some of these links also into the chat box. So first I wanted to start with some definitions. And what are the definitions of repair, fix, and mend? And are these terms interchangeable? Do they mean the same things? So I was looking into this, and one of the things I found as far as definitions is repair can usually refer to an item that is fixed by a professional. So that might be one of the things that keeps it separate from fix and mend. Fix can be thought of as in very general terms, and then the word mend usually refers to clothing. So I went to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's glossary to look at what their definition of repair is. And this glossary just came out very recently, so I encourage you to check it out. But its definition of repair is operation by which a faulty or broken product or component is returned back to a usable state to fulfill its intended purpose. And again, going back to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, you may have seen their butterfly diagram before that illustrates the circular economy and divides it into biological cycles and the technical cycles. And on the technical cycle, one of the terms they use is refurbish, and this would refer back to repair. So you might want to think of some other terms that can be used for repair. And some terms that are also used in the Ellen MacArthur Foundation glossary that would be related are durability, lifespan, repairability, remanufacture, and refurbish. So the definition referred to items that are broken. So how do we know when something is broken? And what are the benefits of repairing something that's broken? And when you're thinking about the answer to the benefits, think of the entire life cycle of that product. So, because a lot happens before you get that product, right? Materials are extracted, product is manufactured, there's transportation of that product to its final destination, whether that's to a store, and then when you buy it, to your home. And then there's also the disposal of that product. So think about, again, what the benefits are of repairing something and how that fits into the circular economy, right? Because in the circular economy, we want to reduce waste and pollution, and we want to keep products in use for as long as possible. And we can do that through repair and also through reuse. So what products can we no longer fix for ourselves? And, you know, think back maybe to your parents or grandparents and what kind of appliances or items they were able to repair that we don't have access to anymore. And I was thinking about our cars, you know, because our cars now are so dependent on computers. And I mean, I remember when I was in college, I took an auto repair class, you know, and you pop the hood and change the spark plugs, and that doesn't seem as common anymore as what it used to be. So think about some other products that used to be able to be easily repaired and may not be anymore. So that brings us to an initiative called the Right to Repair. And the goal of the Right to Repair is to require companies to make their parts, tools, and information available to consumers, and also to those independent repair shops, so that we can keep our items, our products in use longer, so that they don't end up in the landfill. Another term I wanted to introduce was planned obsolescence. And obsolescence comes from the word obsolete. And there's a very classic example to explain planned obsolescence. And that is the incandescent light bulb and the Phoebus cartel. This is, again, our classic example. So in the early 1900s, a light bulb would typically last for 2,000 to 2,500 hours. But that meant, because it was lasting so long, that you were buying fewer light bulbs. So a global alliance was formed called the Phoebus cartel. And Phoebus comes from Latin and means bright, shining, or radiant. So that's where Phoebus comes from. And this cartel was global, and it included GE and Philips. And what this cartel did was they worked together with their engineers to take the lifespan of a light bulb from 2,000 to 2,500 hours down to 1,000 hours, because they wanted you to buy more of their product, right? And that's what planned obsolescence is limiting the lifespan of a product so that you'll buy more of that product. And they were so serious about limiting the number of hours that there were even fines for non-compliance with this cartel. So that's an example of planned obsolescence. So what this is doing is it brings up the idea of ownership. And what does ownership mean anymore if we do not have the right to repair an item or to modify it? It's more like we're leasing these products from the manufacturers, and we don't actually own them ourselves, because so many items these days cannot be repaired on your own, or there isn't an independent repair shop to take many of our items to. We're very dependent on going back to the dealerships, going back to the manufacturers, because they're the only ones that have the tools that we need. Maybe that's to open up our phones, you know, or to repair something that's computerized in our car. You know, so manufacturers have made it so that we have to go back to them. And sometimes it may be more expensive to repair an item than to just buy a new one. And with this, you know, I think a lot of times we'll think of our phones, right? Instead of, you know, if the battery runs out, it might be just easier to buy a new one than to go and replace the battery. So again, what does it mean anymore to own an item if we can't modify it? So who is it that's going to benefit from right to repair, and who's impacted by this? And I have a photo here of a John Deere tractor, which, growing up in Nebraska, this was a very common sight. You know, the John Deere tractors were always in the parades and that sort of thing. So think about the farmer in Nebraska. Well, Big Tractor, which is John Deere, says that the farmers don't have the right to access the software that runs that equipment. Because these days, just like our cars, these tractors depend on computer software. And companies such as John Deere have all kinds of reasons why they don't want you repairing these tractors yourself. And, some of the reasons are because they don't want you modifying their machines. And they claim that, there's concerns around safety, liability, data security, all sorts of things that they'll say is the reason why if your tractor breaks down, you have to call the manufacturer or an authorized dealer. Well, that causes a lot of problems if your tractor breaks down in the middle of harvest season and you have to wait for someone to come out and fix your tractor before you can finish the harvest. Now, these tractors cost approximately $800,000. So you have put an incredible investment into that tractor. Now, granted, some of the software that they've put in there really helps the farmer. I mean, the tractor can help monitor the moisture and nitrogen levels in the soil, can help in the placement of your seeds, help with fertilizer and pesticides, and really help to increase the size of the harvest. And so John Deere is actually a very classic example of why farmers are asking for the right to repair. So I wanted to give a couple other examples. And one is the Apple iPhone. And this is very much recent news. This is something that just happened last month. And iPhone or Apple has announced that beginning next year, they will begin selling parts and tools and providing manuals to individuals and repair shops so that you don't only have to go to an authorized Apple dealer if you have a problem with your phone. And some of the most common replacements that are needed with the phone are things like batteries, and the screens are some of the things that commonly need to be replaced. And again, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they have all fought the right to repair. And again, their reasons are for security reasons, access to your data, safety, liability. And what else they're very much concerned about is intellectual property rights, which relates also to copyright laws. And I've mentioned cars and their automotive makers and their right to repair. So Massachusetts passed a law in 2013 that was again updated in 2020. And right now they are the only state that has a right to repair law on the books. Now there are others looking into this right now, but their law mandated that automakers had to make their telematics data easily accessible by individuals and repair shops. And by the telematic data, we're talking about like the GPS data, the diagnostic data, software that'll track the speed, location, maintenance of your car. So this was, again, passed in 2013, again in 2020. And so Subaru didn't like this idea. I mean, Subaru was told that they had to make their telematic data in cars that are sold in Massachusetts have to make that accessible to individuals and repair shops. And they didn't like that. They said, well, maybe that just can't be done for cars in Massachusetts. So they turned that Starlink completely off so that they wouldn't even have to deal with it, which then actually makes it harder for the dealers because they can't just go and check the diagnostics as easily as they used to be able to. Something that's come up with Right to Repair just because of COVID is because many of the medical devices that we use, including the ventilators that have been so critical during COVID, many of these equipment is only accessible, again, to be repaired by an authorized dealer. And so many hospitals have found themselves at a disadvantage because, as we've all heard for the past year and a half, there have been times when ventilators are in short supply. So if a hospital could repair the equipment themselves and not wait for an authorized dealer, that would be ideal. So in Oregon, a Critical Medical Infrastructure Right to Repair Act was passed in 2020, which says that repair technicians can more easily access information and tools to repair some of this equipment. Now, I guess one of the questions that I have about this law is that it refers specifically to COVID. And, you know, as these things are broken during COVID. So once we're past the pandemic, what happens to this right to repair law? One thing I also want to draw your attention to is very recently in October, Trevor Noah did a 10-minute video on the right to repair. And so he goes over this entire issue in 10 minutes in a way that only Trevor Noah can. And so I definitely, you know, encourage you to watch his video. He mostly in the beginning talks about McDonald's and the fact that, and I didn't realize this, that all of their ice cream machines are broken. And it's because that you need an authorized dealer or repair shop to come out and fix them. So anyway, he addresses this issue in kind of a fun way. So I encourage you to take 10 minutes and listen to Trevor Noah. So I also wanted to point out, I'd mentioned that Massachusetts has the only right to repair law right now on the books. There are also, and this keeps changing, so there's at least 25 other states that are looking at right to repair laws, like what Massachusetts has done. But also, very exciting is that last summer, President Biden passed an executive order where he stated that the Federal Trade Commission needs to enforce new regulations that limit the ability of manufacturers to restrict repairs. And one of the reasons he did this was as a way to increase competition between manufacturers. And then also, as I mentioned previously, all of this comes down to copyright law also. And copyright laws are reviewed every 3 years. But like with so many things, our laws are not keeping up with technology and how fast things are moving. So these are all the just some of the complexities that come into all of this and why we need to keep watching what's happening with these things. It's very encouraging that now this is being addressed at a federal level, where in the past it was just up to states to really deal with these issues. And I mentioned that in the executive order, President Biden stated that the Federal Trade Commission needs to be looking at the right to repair. And so just days after he implemented this executive order, the FTC also voted on right to repair and are now committed to enforcing the right to repair and preventing companies from restricting different repair options. And there are advocacy groups that are working on this, like the U.S. Public Interest Research Group. There is also a public interest research group in Ohio, and there's private companies like iFixit that are also looking into these issues for us. So I wanted to end with just going through a few resources that are available. And I had just mentioned iFixit. This is, and I would encourage you to go to their website. This is a global community of people helping each other. And what they have available on their website are repair guides. They have a forum and a blog. They will take a look inside some gadgets and give you ways that you can get involved also in this movement. They have been sued at times for manufacturers for sharing, some of their secrets. So if you are handy and you're looking for repair guides for maybe an appliance that needs fixing, I would encourage you to check out iFixit. Also, if you're interested in getting more involved and being an advocate, I would encourage you to check out the Repair Association. They also will break down some of their information by industry and some of the specific issues to each industry, like they'll look at appliances specifically, or electronics, or automobiles. Some local resources is, some of you may be familiar with the Home Repair Resource Center. This is located in Cleveland Heights, and they offer all kinds of classes and tool libraries. They have programs specifically for seniors and just a wealth of resources. So I would definitely encourage you to check them out. And then the City of Cleveland has the Cleveland Home Repair Resource Guide, again, with programs and resources that are available to residents in the City of Cleveland. I want to spend just a couple minutes as we're closing here on repair cafes and Fixit Clinics. So a repair cafe is a place where people gather on a regular basis to work on repairing objects that you have in your home, and these may be electrical or mechanical devices, and it may be computers or bicycles or clothing. I mean, it could be anything, where people bring their broken items, and people with skills to fix these items would be available for you to bring your items in and get them repaired. Now, Repair Cafe, again, would happen at a regular location on a regular basis. And an important part of these repair cafes, and kind of gets to the word cafe, is that these are also a social gathering, you know, and there's food, and it's a way of bringing community together. And there are several repair cafes in Ohio. And I want to specifically just bring light to a repair cafe in Knox County in Mount Vernon that has been run since 2018. And this morning, I actually spoke with Mark Tillich, who's the founder of the Repair Cafe in Knox County. And I've got his contact information here if you want to learn more about his Repair Cafe. I think that he could probably shine a lot of light on things that he's learned over the past several years, and also share with you things that he's learned during COVID also. And Mark is on the call tonight, so if you want to ask him a question in the chat, please do so. Now, Fixit Clinics, at least as I understand them, are a little bit different from the repair cafes. Fixit Clinics are very focused on knowledge and learning about how to fix things. So it also brings together people with skills in repairing items, but also, you know, and people bringing things that they need fixed, but it's more focused on learning how to do it yourself. And a Fixit Clinic might not be held on a regular basis at a regular spot. It may be more of a pop-up experience. And with that said, I'm very happy to announce that there is a group, Old Brooklyn Recycles, that has been working to offer its own Fixit Clinic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Dugan and Sarah Tan to tell you a little bit about the Fixit Clinic that they're planning. Do we have Sarah or Katie?
Yeah, hi, Kathy, it's Katie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hi,
Okay.
Katie. Thank you.
Perfect. Hi, yeah, thank you. So as Kathy mentioned, I'm here with Sarah Tan. We are kind of co-collaborators in what we call Old Brooklyn Recycles. We have another partner as well named Kira. She's not able to make it tonight, but the three of us are all about reducing waste and looking at broader sustainability issues. And this has been a really cool idea and opportunity that we've gained some traction on recently. So what we're doing here with this idea of the Fixit Clinic is that we're focusing first on an area where we know some very, very cool resources and really cool people around the city of Cleveland, and all through this circular Cleveland kind of community that we have. So our partners with Cleveland Sews and Oh So Powerful, we're going to be hosting this. It's going to be a clothing and fabrics repaired focused clinic. And it's going to be on January 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. So what we're doing here is we've got, you know, a list of the areas of expertise that we have. So mending holes, repairing zippers, buttons, some leather work potentially. So if there are fabrics or clothing items that you have in mind that you're looking to repair, but not exactly sure where to get started, you know, maybe it's not an area that you're the most comfortable with, or maybe there's a particular tool or machine that you need access to in order to fix it. This is exactly what we're going to be doing on January the 22nd. So we've got some information, you know, definitely keep this date in mind. And then I can share our email address through the chat so that you can also register. Oh, thank you. Perfect. We have our little icon that you can scan as well. Or go to bit.ly/Fixit Cleveland. And then we'll keep updated through this, through that email database that we're, kind of putting together of people that are interested. We'll be starting out with, letting any attendees and participants will first be able to sign up. We're also looking for coaches. So if you are either, well practiced or an expert in an area and want to share some of that knowledge and hands-on learning, as Kathy had mentioned. So if you're, good with fabrics, definitely join us that day and maybe you can teach someone else some skills. If there's another area that you're particularly gifted in or well practiced, then let us know and, we can start to make connections. There's, some little murmurings of other Fixit clinics that could come up around bike repairs, right? So kind of this community-based, community-led, and then sharing the knowledge among peers to be able to fix things. And as Kathy had discussed, kind of keeping that ownership of that material rather than feeling like we have to either replace it or, maybe, call it professionals, which sometimes there certainly are those cases too. I'm going to pass it to Sarah, who I believe is on the call as well, in case there's any clarification or anything else about either signing up as a participant or as a coach. Anything I need to clarify there, Sarah?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Everything sounds great. I think that you described it well. I just want to clarify that we don't have a registration yet for the event that's coming up. This bit.ly address is for if you want to volunteer as a coach, but keep your eyes open. The registration will be coming, and we ask that people sort of put in this registration, what is it that you want repaired? Maybe send a picture just so our coaches can make sure they have the right supplies necessary and we have enough coaches if there's an overwhelming response. So that will be coming very soon. And if you want to email Old Brooklyn Recycles at gmail.com, we can also get in connection that way.
Perfect. Yeah, that's an important clarification. So the registration link is forthcoming. We're still putting together to make sure that we've got, everybody what their expertise is, and then availability of those coaches, and, what materials they'll be working with and everything like that. So as we have that, we'll be sharing it to anybody who might email us at oldbrooklynrecycles@gmail.com, or if you follow us on social media, that's our that's how you can reference us as well, Old Brooklyn Recycles, as well as if you follow Cosmic Bobbins, a lot of cool stuff there. Oh, so powerful if you have any connections with them. And then we hope that it can be shared out through, each of our networks through, the Circular Cleveland network as well. And then as individuals start to pick it up and share it across as well, so that we can, boost this kind of empowerment of being able to fix what we have and take pride in our own ability too. So Kathy, I think that that's it that we've got for kind of introducing. Thank you so much for the forum, for this kind of platform to be able to talk through. We're really excited. We know that there's a lot of steam behind it already. So really interested to see this first event get kicked off for bringing Fixit Clinics to Cleveland, kind of in the age that we're in right now. So thank you very much for this platform and time. And we look forward to hearing from a lot of the participants too.
Thank you so much, Katie and Sarah. I think this is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing this Fixit Clinic become a reality. And one thing I just wanted to mention here too is that Cleveland Sews, Oh So Powerful, and Old Brooklyn Recycles were all organizations that received funding in our first round of Circular Cleveland Community Grants. So we're really happy to see them all connecting with each other and then connecting with you in our first Fixit Clinic. And we will be advertising or promoting the Fixit Clinic through our Sustainable Cleveland newsletter and social media. So if you're not already signed up for the newsletter, please let us know and we'll get you signed up. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time. I know I went through a lot of information and went through it pretty quickly. Again, this is being recorded and we will post all this, the recording and links and more resources on our blog. It'll probably be up next week. So with that, I'll ask Patty if there's any questions that have come through the chat box.
There have not been. We've had a couple comments, but no questions.
Okay. And remember that Mark Tilak is also on the line. And so you may have questions about his repair cafe in Knox County, or while we have Katie and Sarah, if you have any questions about the Fixit Clinic. And I think we've actually still got Ren, if there might be one question about recycling. Otherwise, we might be able to end early and give you all back 10 minutes.
Watch the Trevor Noah video is what I hear. That's what we have to do with our 10 minutes.
That's a perfect suggestion. Yes, and I think you'll all enjoy it. So thank you all, and go watch Trevor Noah for 10 minutes. Thank you. Have a good night.